Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds on Coppa Italia, last 16 round. We have 5 remaining games, and we have Daniele Fisichella, who nailed his ACCA this weekend in the Serie A. How are you, Dani?
Ciao Edo, first one of the new year, so I hope you bet with us. I hope you won something. Yeah, it was really satisfying to see last evening, Fiorentina scoring both halves. Yeah, a good ACCA of 12 point something, but that's the past. Now let's focus on 5 games in Coppa Italia. We saw a few surprises last week, especially in Napoli. Also Milan struggling against Genoa to beat them at halftime. So it's not going to be straightforward for the top teams, I think.
We weren't confident about Napoli, and then they lost against Fiorentina. So let's analyze the remaining games that we have this weekend with you, this week with you, Dani, and with everyone. Of course, leave a comment with your tips and predictions, and don't forget, as always, like the video and subscribe to our channel. Let's go on with the show. And the first game, Dani, is on Tuesday. We have Lazio, Udinese, and I only hope is as good as the game we saw in Serie A. That was a 4-4 result. Udinese was better actually there, but since then they lost to Juventus. They were thrashed by Atalanta. They had many COVID problems, and Lazio, Dani, could target this competition, no? They won it recently in 2019. Then they also won that derby in 2013. Remember that the winner plays Milan. We have to give Lazio, no, the favoritism here.
Yeah, you have to also because they won 6 of the last 10 home games in the league. They score almost 3 goals per game in those home games so far. So they've been good at home, Lazio. And, they come from a very good win, a comfortable win at Salerno, 3-0. They scored 13 in the last 5. Lazio, third best attack of Serie A. And, at Salerno, we saw them playing a very attacking information, also because they were playing a weak opposition depleted by a lot of injuries. But Sarri played with Luis Alberto, with Pedro, Anderson, Immobile, of course, and 𝐜𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐸 giving the great assist for the first goal. We also saw Lazzari in the second half scoring, probably a player that's been a little bit underused with Sarri, but we know how good he is going forward. So yes, Lazio should target this competition. They were winner in 2019, so they got a good cup pedigree, but I would expect Sarri to make some changes, they also because they play Atalanta at home in midweek, and this is also a test to see how deep is Lazio squad. We saw them in the Europa League sometimes struggling when the second lines come in. They also got a couple of injuries. For example, 𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐸 is still out, and it's really important on the back of the defense. So probably we're going to see Pepe Reina playing in goal. Not that Strakosha has been amazing, but Pepe Reina is having a shocker of a season. 𝐜𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐸, 𝐻𝐿 Pro. And up front, because Murici, the Kosovarian, is on his way out, is going to Spartak Moscow, I think it's going to be another game for Immobile, whose numbers are really, really good this season so far. Let's see what happened. Let's not forget, when they played in the league, it was a spectacular 4-4. Udinese were 3-1 up, then 4-3 down, then they managed to equalize in the very last minute. So my first tip, because, as I said, there are going to be a lot of changes in both formations, I don't think these games are going to be as straightforward as we expect or as the odds suggest. Why not going for a both to score, which pays 184? So again, it could be a Lazio win, but it could be a Lazio win in a high scoring game with both scoring. Yes.
I guess, Dani, you expect also a high scoring game. Udinese, we spoke about them, that they were struggling going forward at the beginning of the season, but actually they are scoring in the last games. What you weren't sure, and the results is proof as well, about the change of manager from Gotti to Cioffi. They haven't improved that much.
I don't think they change that much. Well, sometimes they play a little bit more on the front foot, and I know 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐸 was criticized quite a lot at the beginning of the season for a very defensive approach. But let's not forget Udinese lost against Atalanta 6-2 because they were depleted. They missed so many players due to COVID. I felt it was a little bit unfair on them having to play that game. Then they recovered some of them, and against Juventus, for a good 50 minutes, they were the better team. I mean, it's not difficult these days to put Juventus in trouble, especially when they play at home, but they had more shots on target than Juventus. They had 10 shots on target. There was a suspect penalty on Soppi in the second half when Juventus was still 1-0. Then they couldn't find the clear-cut chances. Now, are they gonna risk their the best players like Deulofeu, like Beto for this game, considering that they go to Genoa on the weekend, and now Udinese got 2 games in hands to play, but if they don't lose the game at Genoa, they get sucked into the relegation battle once again. A bit of coming and going for Udinese. They got Becao back from suspension. They sold Samir to Watford. Obviously, they got the same owner, so the Pozzo moved Samir to Watford to try to strengthen Watford chances to get saved. They got Benkovic, the defender from Leicester. So, a bit of changes there for Udinese, a team that I think if he doesn't play with the first 11, really could struggle. Only 1 away victory so far in Serie A for Udinese, who were comfortably winners in the previous round of Coppa Italia, but they were playing a Serie B side. I mean, I do stick with my lots of goals prediction. If you go for over 2.5 goals, I don't think that pay too much, but you could go, for example, for over 1.5 goals in the second half. That pays 205. As I said, remember the game they played in the league, 4-4, and there were 5 or 6 goals only in the second half. So yeah, over 1.5 goals, 2.5 goals in the second half, that doubles your stake, 205.
Okay, tips about goals in this case. Danny, Armin is asking us, of course, Coppa Italia is still 1 match. We have Atalanta, Fiorentina, and Milan qualified already for the quarterfinals last week. And Armin is asking you if you advise him to put Lazio to qualify or to win in his ACCA. The odds are low.
You will see in my ACCA what I put about Lazio. I feel strongly that they could go on into the next round to qualify, because he also involves extra time and penalties. Doesn't pay too much. I think if you want to go for the ACCA, you should be a little bit bolder and go for Lazio to win.
Both teams to score. For Abdul as well, by the way, he won a lot of money, Danny, thanks to your ACCA. Then the winner of this game,
500 euros, Abdul. That's great.
That's a salary.
You should at least invite me for a coffee next time. We see.
The winner play Milan in the quarterfinals. We have already the draw. Then on Tuesday, we have Juventus, Sampdoria. You told us, Danny, that Juventus weren't flashy against Udinese. At least Dybala is playing 3 games in a row, and these are good news. And the thing, Danny, I guess, is that Juventus, they should target this competition. It's the only trophy they can win this season. But let's see what kind of Sampdoria we see, no? Because as we imagine from weeks and weeks ago, D'Aversa is out, and what a surprise, Gianpaolo is back.
Yes, the master, Gianpaolo is back. And I'll tell you a couple of things about Gianpaolo in a moment. But let's start with Juventus. Yes, I don't think they're going to win the Champions League. So yeah, this is a trophy they should target, as they did last year, which they won. And, Pirlo was happy, saying at least I delivered a trophy. Wasn't enough for Juventus management to keep him. Now they got less points than last year, and still they struggle to break down teams. They struggle to impose themselves. They just do enough to win against teams like Udinese, which they got a better squad. So yes, they're going to win in that game, and probably they're going to win also against Sampdoria because of the strength of the two teams. The good news for Juventus is that the midfielders have started scoring. McKennie scored a couple of goals, Locatelli scored in Rome, Kulusevski as well. They are 1 point behind Atalanta with 1 more game that they have played. So, they are back in contention. It was a good weekend for Juventus overall. The performance against Udinese, not great. In the second half, they suffered at time. As I mentioned before, Udinese had more shots at the end. And, I mean, we also have to say that perhaps they were a little bit tired after 120 minutes played against Inter. Inter was definitely tired in the game against Atalanta, so it must have been Juventus. So we're gonna see changes on this one. I think up to 6 changes, probably a first start for the Brazilian 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐻𝐽, so expect a very revolutionized lineup for Juventus. Morata still up the front. I don't think Dybala is going to start this game, might not be playing at all. But, the recent form of Juventus suggests that they might have turned the corner. They had an easy calendar, let's not forget. From the end of November, they played teams that they should have been beaten, apart from Roma, that was a very good performance, but in a crazy game. So 20 points out of the last 24 for Juventus in Serie A, and they qualified top of the Champions League group. Even Dybala, who after scoring was looking for a friend in the stands. Well, obviously, he was looking for the Juventus management, who doesn't want to renew his contract. So it was very polemic. Even Dybala said they're not playing well. But the importance of Dybala has been highlighted in the last few weeks. 10 goals, 4 assists. That's 32% of Juventus goals so far for a team that be scoring at least 23 goals less this season compared to last season, obviously, because they're missing Ronaldo. We're going to talk about Sampdoria in a moment, but if you think Juventus are going to qualify as they should, normally they would start the game strongly, and the win for Juventus doesn't pay too much, so you need to go in the first half market and find value there for a Juventus to win a first half, which pays 193 against a Sampdoria side that, we'll say now, is really, really difficult, very terrible, when they travel, and they sacked the manager, the Versa. So my first tip will be Juventus to win the first half, 193.
The good news is that Dybala is not getting injured. Be careful, because now is coming the international break in South America, and he always misses the call of Argentina. Let's talk then a bit about Sampdoria. Dani, no victory since they won the derby against Genoa. That's 5 games. As we mentioned, we were talking about this many weeks. The management, they didn't have the confidence in D'Aversa. Now he's been axed, and Gianpaolo is back. And of course, the task is playing again in Serie A next season. They are 4 points away from relegation.
Yeah, I mean, hiring Gianpaolo, although Gianpaolo knows the environment, he did really well a couple of seasons ago at Sampdoria. Hiring him now is a bit risky, because Gianpaolo, it is a very sophisticated manager that applies very sophisticated tactics. They need time to be understood. So normally he's a manager you hire in March. He has all the time to plan, do the preseason, etc. Although last year at Torino didn't quite work. He needs to have a certain type of players to play possession football, high intensity, etc. Now, in the career of Gianpaolo, he never, apart from one time in 2006 at Cagliari, came on during the season. But at Cagliari that year, he started the season, got sacked, and got called back. So can't really say that he was a new team for him. So it's quite risky, because it might take time for Gianpaolo. It is a team that lacks a lot of quality, especially in the creative department. So I don't think obviously he's going to be on the bench for this one. They still have to make him official. But, for Sampdoria, there could be shaky times ahead, bumpy times ahead. They are strengthening the squad, because they already got Magnani, defender, proven defender with experience from Verona, Rincon, midfielder, more substance in midfield, Conti from Milan. They're thinking about getting Sensi from Inter on loan. Yes, 4 points above Cagliari. They play Spezia away. They were well beaten by Torino at the weekend. Away, they scored 5 in the last 6. Again, let's see what sort of formation they go for. If they go still with Caputo and Gabbiadini, you definitely are the main threat. If Candreva is going to get a rest for this one, because Sampdoria needs to focus on the league. Look, the win for Sampdoria is massive, so I wouldn't go for that. But on the Asian handicap market, I found something a little bit more interesting, which is a Sampdoria Asian handicap plus 1.25, which doubles your stake. So now we are not saying that Sampdoria are not going to lose, but considering how stingy have been Juventus at home, If Sampdoria loses by 1 goal, you win half your stake.
Danny, and that leads us, for instance, to take a look at the goals market, and I found good odds if we go for under
Yes.
2.5 goals, 2.38. Would you like it?
Look, in the league, it finished 3-2 for Juventus. So the previous game would say no, but Juventus rarely scored more than 2 goals at home this season in Serie A and in the Champions League. So considering, yes, there's going to be changes, the Sampdoria, they might think about the league. Yeah, and under 2.5 goals, which is what happened in recent home game for Juventus, 2-0 against Cagliari, 2-0 against Udinese. Yes, why not?
Suleiman first half over 1.5 goals, so he expects more goals. The winner of this Juve Sampdoria will face the winner of Sassuolo Cagliari, and Sassuolo is a very weird team, Danny. Of course, they are the favorites, but they are able to lose 2-4 against Verona after winning 1-5 against Empoli. The reality is that only 1 victory in the last 5 goals, and now they are playing improved Cagliari, way better in the last weeks.
Yeah, of course, Cagliari have been better since the start of the year. 2 wins back-to-back, one against Sampdoria, one against Bologna, in fortunate circumstances. Bologna were depleted, there was a last-minute win, but also against Roma, lost 1-0. Yes, Roma had more chances, but, in the 88th minute, João Pedro hit the post. It could have been 1-1, and had it happened, you would have said, Cagliari did a very honest game in Roma, just not just playing on the back foot, but, they got more attacking threat, also because they play with João Pedro, with Pavoletti, with Pereiro behind the striker. It looks to me like Cagliari, they got rid a little bit of the deadwoods, the players that were unwanted or didn't put enough effort there, like Godin, Cáceres, players that, they've been left in Uruguay, basically, after the break, because, they were criticized for not doing enough. Strootman is out, but maybe those players, they're not really applying themselves too much to this fight. And now with a group of young players, they're doing better, I would say. And yes, of course, they still got a big task in hand to make sure they get out of the relegation zone. But, it is an improving team, only conceded 4 in the last 4 games, for a team that was leaking a lot of goals. That's definitely an improvement, but it is still the worst away team in Serie A, only 6 points so far away. Second worst away defense in Serie A, 23 goals conceded in 11 games, and they visit a Sassuolo team that, one thing is for sure, there is never a boring moment with Sassuolo. Sassuolo can score, for sure. They scored 37 goals so far in the league. Never a boring moment. So, again, Sassuolo has got much more chances to target this competition, but there I'm always going for the goals market. So my first bet would be over 1.5 goals in the second half. I mean, Sassuolo scores regardless. In the league, it finished 2-2. Cagliari scored 2 late goals as Sassuolo to draw the game. I think, lately, this game could open up a little bit more. Both teams would be desperate to avoid, of course, the extra time. So over 1.5 goals in the second half. So 2 goals or more for you to win the stake, 192.
Very entertaining always, Sassuolo, indeed, with quality. Berardi, Scamacca. If we check the goals market, we always should do it with Sassuolo. Over 2.5 goals, only pay Danny 1.73. That's why you have to be a little bit more creative. And the question also is if Cagliari is going to put effort in this game. They are facing Fiorentina at home in a key game, because Fiorentina, they are not as good when they are playing away, and Cagliari have the chance to get away from the bottom 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the question in their minds. Yeah, how much effort do we put into it? Again, they play a Sassuolo that is not doing great in the league. 1 win in the last 5. They got less points than last season. 82% of games for Sassuolo this season have been both to score. You can find this on the betting stats in Oddspedia. And also 82% of Sassuolo's games this season over 2.5 goals. So, they score, they conceded 19 goals at home so far this season. That's a lot, or only 2 clean sheets kept so far. So, combining those two stats that I gave you, over 2.5 goals and both to score, you do like a mini ACCA. So you bet them together and you get a total odds of 301. Over 2.5 goals and both to score, 301. The odds are quite high, so you can bet half a unit on this one. That would be my second tip. So betting half a unit on over 2.5 goals and both to score 301.
All right, then we have 2 more games. One on Wednesday, Inter Empoli. You mentioned before that Inter look a bit tired in that game against Atalanta. They played against Juve, a very tough game in the Supercoppa. Luckily for them, they are playing Venezia in the weekend before the key derby in Serie A. So I guess, Danny, time for Inzaghi to give some rest to key players, because Empoli, though, could be dangerous, but it's now or never not to rest some key players.
Absolutely, they have to, because what comes next, it's got Venezia afterwards, then the break, Milan, Napoli, Liverpool. You have to rest players, and 0-0 at Bergamo, the most false 0-0 ever, because there've been so many chances for both teams, and both keepers have been excellent. So Musso and Andanovic still showing he could be one of the best keepers in Serie A. Inter, first time they didn't score in 39 games in Serie A with this 0-0. You had to go back to January last year, 0-0 at Udinese, to find another time they couldn't find the goal. But, they had a lot of chances. 𝐬𝐭𝐿, very wastefully wasted 4 chances. Sanchez missed 1. D'Ambrosio, bless him, he missed 2, but probably is not the guy you want the chances to fall, especially in the very last minute. But, Inter were tired after 120 minutes with Juventus. They admitted. And, playing Atalanta is never easy. Guardiola said it's like going to the dentist when you play Atalanta. It's quite a struggle, really, and Atalanta presses you really high. And, Inter sometimes didn't have the opportunity to move the ball as quickly as they wanted. Let's see what happened for this one. Because after winning the Super Cup, I'm sure Inter wants to continue in having a good cup run. Last year they reached the semi-final, so at least they need to target that as well. Let's see if finally Inzaghi will rest Marcelo Brozovic, because he's played every game, every minute, pretty much. He is the fundamental man of Inter. Probably at the moment is the best holding midfielder in Europe for the way he not only defends, recovers the ball, but recycles the ball itself. But he should be given a rest. So at least 5 or 6 changes for this Inter side. A chance for Ranocchia, a chance for 𝐵orrea, who really needs to wake up. 4 goals in the last 19 games for Inter, not enough. A chance for Vecino, who might be on his way out. Di Marco, maybe Sensi, maybe the last game of Sensi for this season at Inter. We'll see. When there are a lot of changes, even with a very good oiled machine like Inter, I think it could take a while to kick on. Look, if you go on the goal markets, the bookmakers are expecting a lot of goals, because Inter has been scoring a lot of goals and they are the best attack in Serie A. But this is a cup game. It's a bit different. It's going to be played in front of 5,000 people, reduced capacity. It's going to be very cold. I don't know how much the champions might be up for it. Maybe at the beginning. So I'm going to go for an under 3.25 goals, 193, which means if there are 3 goals in the game, you win half your stake. If there are 4 goals, you lose half your stake. So, you still have a chance to win a bit if there are only 3 goals in the game, which sounds to me like quite a lot. And that pays well, 193.
Under 3 goals pays 2.5, because the bookies expect many goals, Danny. Although, as you mentioned, Inter are going to switch many players. Empoli, they've been great in their comeback to Serie A. They are not in the best form in the season, 5 winless games in Serie A, but they got some eye-catching victories, for instance, against Fiorentina, against Napoli. Why not going here for a short margin victory, or looking for an Asian handicap plus something for Empoli? Perhaps
that's exactly what I will go for. That's exactly what I will go for. Empoli are 6 in the away table. the best team of the three newly promoted. They play a good brand of football. They like to have the ball. They like to commit player forward. Yes, sometimes they leave, well, often they leave space at the back. 75% of Empoli games have been both to score this season, unbeaten in the last 6 away games. Empoli always scored away, second worst defense though, with 43 conceded. Again, let's see what sort of changes they make, but I would imagine they were going to make less changes than Inter, because Empoli, let's face it, are going to be saved this season. So this could be an historical upset for them. Look, 15, very appealing, but we're talking about the champions of Italy against a newly promoted team. But the Asian handicap market, as you mentioned, that's what I like. Empoli, Asian handicap plus 1.75. That means if they lose by 2 games, you lose half your stake. Imagine 2-0 for Inter, you only lose 1 unit. In this case, I would suggest you go for 2 units because you lose half your stake. If Inter wins 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, whatever. But if Inter only wins by 1 goal, you are winning 195. And if you bet 2 units, that will be almost 4.
Indeed, I wouldn't rule out a surprise here of Empoli. We mentioned that when they visit the Maradona, and why not? Inter is gonna change many players.
It's not just. I mean, look. Yesterday we saw Spezia winning at Milan with a high degree of luck. Empoli, they play well. It's not just luck. I mean, credit to Spezia because it's difficult. We know the issues there, but Empoli plays good football.
Especially away, far away from the Castellani, they are even better, as you mentioned. And the winner of this Inter-Empoli play against the winner of Roma-Lecce. Lecce is the only team in Serie B alive in this Coppa Italia. They are 5th right now. They are here because they beat Spezia, the team that you mentioned before in the previous round. If we spoke about Lazio and Juventus targeting this competition because it's kind of easy to win it, why not for Roma and why not for Mourinho? It's been a while also without Roma winning this trophy. Last time, 2008.
Yeah, against Inter, I remember 2-1 in the final. And yes, there was a time where Roma were racking up the Coppa Italias quite frequently. If you go like in the mid-80s, they won a few, like 4 or 5, then in the 90s, a couple. So yeah, it is a trophy that they like, and it is a trophy they should target, because again, it is a team that has been reinforced already in journey with Maitland-Niles, with Sergio Oliveira, very good performance against Cagliari, scored the winning goal from the penalties. It is an environment, Roma, that needs a little bit of confidence, winning games, even games that might sound it'll be easy, yes, against Lecce in Serie B, but you need to win, and also you need to make sure you avoid embarrassment, because this year Roma has already lost to Bodo Glimt, has already drew against Bodo Glimt at home. There's been the defeat in the derby against Lazio, the defeat against Juventus, the defeat at home against Inter. They need to stop really the embarrassment. It is a Roma-Lecce, give you a little bit of history, is a game that makes tremble a little bit the Roma supporters. 1986, Roma were on course to win the league. They lost at home to Lecce, who was already relegated 2-3. Eriksson was on the bench for Roma. Lost that game. Juventus won the league in the last couple of games. So it's always a little bit nervy, but the story is different now. Lecce are in Serie B. Roma, as I said, is a strengthened team. Let's see what they can do. I mean, against Cagliari, they were not perfect, but another 1-0 win. They also got a couple of 2-0 win at home this season. Last year, let's not forget, they lost 4-2 to Spezia in Coppa Italia, round of 16. I would imagine Mourinho giving a chance to some players to play a little bit less. Maybe Majoral, let's not forget, last year he was the top scorer for Roma, hasn't really played much. I'm waiting to see a little bit more from Shomurodov, for example. I think Oliveira is going to play again to make sure that he gets accustomed to the way Roma plays as quickly as possible. This is the most difficult one to predict. It could be above to score. Why not? Again, I would expect Roma making a couple of changes. Maybe it's a comfortable win for Roma in the first half. And Lecce was not not been bad this season. They might nick a goal, so both to score. Speculative bet that pays 2.
Well, Mayoral, I think Mayoral and Villar both are on the way to Getafe because Mourinho put a cross on them, no, after that defeat against Bodo Glimt. And the question here, Danny, is that Mourinho was super angry after that defeat in the Conference Cup. So how many chances he's gonna give the not usual players, because he said already that they don't have the quality to play against with this Roma, even if they are facing a Serie B team like Lecce.
Yeah, he said. I mean, it's been very clear. He's not happy with the quality of some players, but it's been backed, and new reinforcements have come. But I still think in a game like this, you should give some players another chance to prove themselves. You never know. I mean, I don't think Roma. Yes, Mayoral is not the starter, but I wouldn't get rid of him just yet. Let's talk a little bit about Lecce, 5th in Serie B with a game in hand, so they are on course to challenge for promotion. They were relegated 2 years ago from Serie A. Only one defeat in the last 5 games. They beat Spezia 2-0 in the previous round, and last year they were a good team. They got up to the playoffs in Serie B, and they were beaten by Venezia. They're going to make changes from the usual starting 11, as they did against Spezia. Probably we'll see the 2 Nordic players. They go 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, sorry for the pronunciation, and Helgesson. He's Icelandic. 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐻𝐿 is Swedish. So we see these 2 young Nordic players on the pitch. Away in Serie B, and they did really well against Spezia. Against in Serie B, 16 points out of 30 possible points when they play away. So, decent form. Obviously, this is a step up for them. It's going to be more difficult. If you think it's going to be a both to score game, as I said before, you could go for an over 3 goals, which pays 207. So if it's only 3 goals, 3-0 or 2-1 each way, 3-0 each way, you don't lose your stake. If there are more than 3 goals, 207. But as I said, this is the most difficult one to predict for sure.
Mayoral won't score, Danny? It's official. He's in Madrid already. He's going to play for Getafe. Actually, he was not happy with Mourinho because he didn't have any chances with him, and he did a good job with Fonseca. He's still property of Real Madrid, but Shomudorov, I listen a lot of critics actually about him and about the money they spent for him, and he's not delivering. Yet, let's see if he has an opportunity and he scores some goals. In this Roma Lecce, as you said, the most difficult one to find good odds in this round of fixtures. Then, Danny, we have 5 games, and I'm sure you have another ACCA for us.
Okay, Coppa Italia ACCA, 4 out of 5 games for this midweek. Let's start with Lazio to win, Juventus half-time, full-time, so to be winning at half-time and full-time against Sampdoria, Sassuolo, Cagliari, over 2.5 goals, and Roma, who are the corners king in Serie A, although they let us down in the prediction against Cagliari. The corner king of Serie A, corner Asian handicap minus 3.5, so they need to take 4 more corners than Lecce, who plays in Serie B. Total odds, 10.74.
Good odds then for some results that look very likely. Then, Danny, thank you as always. See you this week again. We have Serie A, of course, on the weekend. Thanks everyone also for commenting. Let us know in the tips if you think there will be surprises in this round of fixtures, and don't forget to press the like and subscribe. Danny, thank you. See you soon.
Ciao Edu. Speak soon. Bye bye.